Hi, hello everyone. We're very excited today because we have a very interesting panel about DeFi, this new decentralized finance universe that is opening right now, and many of us don't quite understand well. So we have our experts today, and hopefully we're going to have a wonderful conversation, starting from the basics to some of the most challenging and opportunities coming along on the DeFi ecosystem. So why do you guys start? Ale, do you want to start with your intro?
For sure. Thanks, Gabi. Hi, guys. My name is Alejandro Narancio. I'm the product owner of RIF Payments. In RIF, we are trying to build the infrastructure for all the different projects, dApps, and for all the ecosystem to build this DeFi new financial system from identity, payments, storage, whatever. So we are working very hard in order to help other projects in the ecosystem to grow and to create fantastic solutions.
Manu?
Thank you. Yes, I'm Manuel Ferrari. I'm co-founder of Manion Chain. We are working building a protocol to enable Bitcoin to go mainstream, to enable people every day to use in a different way Bitcoin with, for example, enabling the first stable coin that uses Bitcoin as collateral, and enabling tokens like the BitPro that enables a Bitcoin holder to earn more Bitcoins with a DeFi solution, or doing leverage operations in another token that is BTCX. But mainly is enabling Bitcoin to be used in different ways. That's what we are working on.
Okay, thank you, Manu. Brian?
Hi, thanks for letting me be here. I'm Brian Prillick, founder and managing director of CTF Capital. We are a crypto hedge fund focused exclusively in the blockchain industry. We're active traders in the DeFi space. We're currently working as market makers for decentralized exchanges such as UIDX, Kyber Network, and 0x. We're also doing liquidity providing to different DeFi applications. We're doing auctions for token sets on the rebalancing, and doing some liquidations on DYDX and Compound currently. And also currently working or investigating other DeFi applications to work in the integrations.
Wow, very interesting. Thanks, Brian. And last but not least, Marian?
Hi, thanks for the invite here. Thanks for all the people at RSK. I'm Mariano de Pietrantonio. I'm the marketing manager for MakerDAO Foundation for Latin America and Spain. What I do in the MakerDAO Foundation mostly is about partnership, communications, and trying to find new use cases for DAI in the region.
Thanks, Mariam. So diving right into this subject, I think it could be interesting for the audience, and let's keep in mind that maybe part of the audience is learning about DeFi for the first time. So in your own words, what is DeFi and why is it important or relevant right now? Let's, if you want, follow the same order, which is the order I have you guys in my screen. So if that works for you, let's do it. So Ale,
okay,
go ahead.
So I can start. For me, DeFi is, we have different, in the traditional financial system, we have different tools. It could be lending, credit, any scoring, whatever. The idea of DeFi is to create these tools or migrate these tools using decentralized technology. Particular blockchain is the one that we are focusing here. And one question that always the people ask me, for example, is which is the difference with fintech? And for me, fintech is like startups or companies that in general, not always, but they try to get a very small part of the traditional financial system or legacy financial system and try to improve it or make it better. For me, DeFi is a very new financial system. It's a completely new financial system. It's a financial system which is more fair, more transparent, more accessible, which has like a very big focus in reduce the cost of the intermediaries or to improve mainly the security and the privacy of the people that is using. For me, that is like the big definition.
Very, very interesting. Thanks, Ali, and very interesting differentiation between fintech and DeFi. Manu?
Thank you. Yes. From my point of view, the first DeFi application solution, as it says, is decentralized finance. The most important thing is not to have a central party in the middle. I initially started my work life in banks, so you always have a central party in a bank. And the first solution, the first DeFi solution is clearly, for me, is Bitcoin. It's the first solution that enables peer-to-peer transfer of value. And what is coming now to the scenario, to the innovation now, first done in Ethereum, is to enable make much more products, concepts, that normally been living in other worlds, in the what I call the traditional finance world, fintech, bring them to crypto and enable using blockchain technology, smart contracts that are much more flexible to program than Bitcoin, that has its limitation to do innovation, being enabled to replicate all these products that in fintech or in the traditional finance exists. So the main point is to not to require a counterparty in the middle, and I would say that the centralized finance is mainly that's how I normally define if this is if there is someone who can change the world. That's maybe the first question that you have to ask when you want to categorize if this is finance or not. If there is no one centralized that can change the rule and decide how you will work, well, then it is more DeFi.
That's very interesting, Manu, and we're going to cover that decentralization discussion within the DeFi ecosystem a bit later. Thanks. Brian, what do you think is DeFi and why it's so relevant?
Well, adding to what Alejandro and Manuel said just recently, I think that DeFi, or decentralized finance, is also known as open finance because everything is open source, transparent. Anybody can audit, can see how the code is. I think it basically is a way to reduce intermediaries, only interacting with smart contracts without any restrictions traditional finance has in terms of minimum volumes you can work with, certain countries' restrictions. Basically, the way to have a more direct, open, decentralized financial system. Obviously, it has its currently growing issues and other issues that probably we're going to dive in later, but I would say that's, for me, why it's so important in this ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Brian. And I think, Marian, having your perspective on this is super interesting because MakerDAO has been one of the pioneer projects in the space, and it's right in the center of the whole revolution. So it's very interesting to hear your perspective about it.
Yeah, I beg your pardon if my answer sounds a bit more poetical rather than a technical one. But I think, for example, DeFi and much more lean to the side, as Brian said, open finance, right? For me, it's like, let's imagine that everybody in the world talks the same language, the same idiom, right? And that put us in a situation in which you can get together with any person in the world to start working, to start creating things with a technology that is open source, verifiable, auditable, censorship resistant, and all the characteristics that we know about cryptocurrencies, right? So in that sense, I would like to make like an exercise of imagination, saying what all the things that we could possibly do starting from that point, right? Because right now what DeFi is offering us is just like in 5 minutes, any developer of the world can download an SDK and start developing financial services with native value in it, right? We don't have to depend on a legacy financial institution. We don't have to depend on some sorts of regulations, because some regulations are good, but we know that other regulations are not so good, right, to foster technology. And we all know that thing. So what DeFi is doing is like putting a normalization and a starting point to start building new things, right?
I love this poetic definition, and I think it's the underlying revolution that we all see underneath these financial service tools that we're building. So awesome. And now, I mean, for the audience that are getting used to this, and now when you start looking into DeFi projects, you see them everywhere. There are new innovative projects that we don't know whether they're needed or not, popping up every single day. And for those of us who have been in the space for quite some time, we've seen this before. No, the hype and bust cycles. It happened 2 years ago with the ICOs, and this seems very different. But at the same time, some people say that have some similar characteristics. So the question would be, where do you think we are in terms of the DeFi revolution? Are we at the early beginnings? Are we at the beginning of a bubble? Are we seeing mature, production-ready solutions ready for mass adoption? Where do you think we are? Ale, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. It's an interesting comparison with the ICOs burst that we had. I think ICOs were a very good thing that were used in a very bad way. So it has a lot of bad reputation, but actually it was a good idea. I think it's a very different thing, DeFi with ICOs. And I think we are in the very early stages. I think I agree with what Mariano said, that right now any developer can download all the tools and start to create their own applications. But we were focused, from my point of view, right? We were focused on create a very strong, very secure technology, okay? But all the applications that you can create right now, the normal user it's not that easy to use. So for example, I always make a comparison. If you go to the homepage of Amazon, I will not see the same page that you guys see, because Amazon created a custom-made page by me. And behind the scenes, there is a lot of very, 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 very strong and very difficult technologies. There is data analysis, artificial intelligence. There are a lot of models. They analyze how I use the mouse, how I type, how the people buy, with the people with my same age buy, etc., etc., etc. Right? So we are not at that stage right now. In order to use the DeFi applications, you have to be like a techie guy right now. So I think right now, at least in RIF, we are trying to create the tools to allow to developers to create secure applications, but focusing in the user experience of the normal user, the ones that really needs this new financial system. So they will not need to understand what is a MetaMask, what is a seed, what is a private key, etc., etc. So that should be something that the architect of the solution will take care. Okay, I have to use this. I have to use this to make this more secure. I need decentralized storage. I need a decentralized identity. I need off-chain payments or whatever. Okay, but the user should not have to deal with all this complexity. And we are far away to that point. but we are working hard on that. So I think we are in a very early stage. We focus on create a very strong technology, a very decentralized, which is a very difficult to create technology, very secure, focus on privacy. That has a cost, but right now we are focusing on how to make it mainstream. Right now, that's my opinion.
Awesome. Very, very interesting, Ale. Thanks. And I'm very excited to see the new generations also, Manu, coming to the stage. So your lovely kid over there. This is the future, right?
That's
this is what
an early adopter.
Yeah. Yesterday, my kid told me that she needs to learn Bitcoin because I'm always talking about Bitcoin. So what Bitcoin? I was looking, but yes, as our kids are digital natives, I think in the future, new kids are going to be Bitcoin or crypto natives. Actually, my older kid already is using the DeFi and wallet. He's saving, really saving. But yes, regarding that, I think regarding the user adoption, we are really in the very, very early beginners. And I can tell you a story from just a couple of minutes ago. I was lunching with my wife, and she told me, well, we are in lockdown. She's paying a doctor for something, and the doctor told her, well, but I need to be paying Mercado Pago, which is a payment service in Latin America, very well known and has already covered all this user adoption, the fintech. Everybody knows what is Mercado Pago in Latin America. And I told her more or less in joke and more or less real, but tell her because Mercado Pago is expensive. She charges 50 pesos for 800 pesos that she had to pay. So it's very expensive for her. And I told her, well, we can pay it with dollar on chain. And she started laughing because I have to explain what is Bitcoin, what is a dollar, and it could be DAI or whatever. But the user adoption is still really, really tough. I think we need still like 1-2 years till these tools are much well known. We are even in the awareness stage, pre-awareness stage.
Manu, are you in agreement with Ale that the infrastructure at the infrastructure level is much more robust, but the issue now it's on the user adoption?
I think that there is a lot of if you try and you want to use it, you can use it. But it's not for what we call here in Latin America, Doña Rosa. It's not for John Doe to go and to use and easy to use. It's not as using a fintech application. They're doing amazing things. When I see services, again, like Mercado Pago, Walla, whatever, the fintech industry have been going down the bridges of people adopting new ways to use financial tools. And it's a reality. And there's millions of people using, for example, Mercado Pago in Latin America. But crypto adoption is not being used by Bitcoin and Ethereum and cryptocurrencies, not to talk about DeFi, which is like a next step. It's not millions, it's maybe thousands. And everyday day is really, we need to cover a lot of things to make user adoption easier.
Thanks, Manu. And Brian, you have a very interesting perspective because you are very much into the markets, market making, how the exchanges work. And I guess you can add that vision compared to the traditional financial system and tools that traders could have when dealing with Forex or traditional equities and
yes,
crazy ecosystem.
Yes, totally agree. Regarding your first question, and I'll later answer that, let's remember that blockchain technology is less than 10 years old. It's a very new technology. It has been and is in mainly grown mainly by speculators in the market, playing with the potential this technology has. The last bubble we saw was in late 2017 with the ICO mania. People were raising funds without a product in place, without anything live, just raising funds with a promise of eventually building something. And that led into several bad actors to just raise funds and later never develop something. In the financial space, I mean, the financial is the first use case blockchain technology has, and inside the DeFi, the decentralized finance, you can see that projects are already are currently live, and people are using it. It's not just a cash grab. I'll raise money just to have something here, but I already have it, and I will reward users for using them. And that has been seen by certain metrics we're currently looking. That is the total value locked into the smart contracts that has grown exponential. I remember early this year, DeFi reached the milestone of $1 billion. After the March craze, it took a little bit longer to regain it, but then it has consistently reached 2 billion, 3 billion, and recently 4 billion in record time. So yeah, I mean, that's quite impressive, because that's actually people using these applications. Obviously, it's still very new, but the potential and the initial use case and the initial growth is already there. Regarding traditional finance with our, for example, market making activities, our main challenge has been working with infrastructure. We depend on certain block times. Perhaps high frequency traders are used to generating thousands of orders per second. Here you have to use block times to confirm each of the transactions, each of the operations or trades, and that takes between 12 and 15 seconds average. And not only that, but to be efficient, you have to have a decentralized infrastructure in place to validate your own transactions, operations. So that has led to discovering and failing, both experimenting with all type of infrastructure of nodes distributed geographically to be validated more fast, to also prevent front running from other actors or malicious actors trying to generate or to keep your own transactions. So I think that coming from traditional finance to decentralized finance, it's very important to have a quite important infrastructure in place.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Marian, what do you think? Where are we in this journey?
That's an interesting question, because you, at least I would like to split it in two things, right? We have the economic side of things and the technological side of things. In terms of the economical side of things, I would say that this thing, this bubble thing, it's much more related to the human nature. So we will be seeing these bubble things boom and bust a million times, right? As we see in the traditional economy. And the good thing about that is when the purge is coming in those busts, all in the good services and the good platform and the things that people use are the ones that survive, right? So that is the concept in the economical side of things. Now, in the technological side of things, I would say obviously that we are very, very, very early, right? Very early. And as Ale said, we are starting to develop all the standards, right? All the things that then developers will use to communicate and make possible obvious this abstraction of the difficulty to use these networks, right? Now, what I do think in terms of how DeFi could relate to other technologies, I am the one that think that it's not going to replace anything. right? I mean, in the technology world, we are still using like mainframe systems in the banking infrastructure. This is a very old technology, right? So what we have to think in this case, I think, is that how DeFi could be one like upper layer of the whole financial system, and how DeFi will interact with the traditional financial system, right? And I think that will be like the singularity moment in which, okay, banks, fintechs, any other service that will be interacting with some form of value will see DeFi, right? And I think that it will be like the explosion moment in which we are going to see, as Manuel says, Doña Rosa using some sort of, I don't know, maybe credit, maybe an interest rate platform, something like that. But probably Doña Rosa won't know about it, right? And I think that is the magic, like the magic moment when we have a lot of people using a technology that they don't know. As for example, my brother doesn't know what is the IMAPay protocol that uses every day when uses the messenger, right? And that kind of things. I think that we are like really immersed in this technology, and for us it's like really common to talk about block times, consensus protocols, and that kind of things. But probably my kid won't know about it and will be using like 100% of that technology.
Very interesting, Mariano.
Can I say something, Ergu?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
I agree with Mariano that we should create bridges with the traditional financial system. I mean, in general, the people say we hate traditional financial system. I don't. I think we don't. So I think it's necessary, but I don't see that DeFi as an outer layer of the traditional financial system. I see like at the end, it will be very more complex system where there is something that is fully DeFi, traditional, and something in the middle, and some things in the outer layer which just expand the traditional financial system, but other things will connect both financial systems. So I think will be a more complex ecosystem at the end, or I hope that will be something like that.
I would like to add one more thing also. I think it is, as Mariano said, and as we were talking about Doña Rosa, John Doe, who can be able to use it. And I feel exactly the same as when I was in the early 90s using internet in my home and trying to explain my father or my grandmother that there is an opportunity, a whole new world here to use it. I think the problem is exactly the same. There is a huge opportunity to use new things. Infrastructure is not ready. User adoption tools are not ready. There is a lot of bad actors working here as in the early stages in internet. Infrastructural services, the internet now is much more secure than 20 years ago. Of course, now you can browse and it's much secure. And using DeFi application, there is no way how to rank if this is a sound solution or if this could be a scam. And I feel it's the same cultural gaps that we had 20 years ago with the internet. The only thing, and I'm replacing Dieguito, this is the internet of money, or replacing Andreas, this is the internet of value and the internet of money. And now we are dealing not with information, but with money. And the challenge is a cultural gap and a technological gap to put all this standard on place for people to use it without problems of usability and feeling secure that they can trust this new as with internet had happened.
Absolutely. And listening to you guys, I was thinking two things. One is that actually what happened in the last 4 months has speeded up completely the whole process, right? I was listening to Marian saying when traditional banks adopt or interact with this technology, and a couple of days ago, the US has allowed commercial banks to handle crypto. That was like a year ago. It was something for next decade, no? And
totally.
And the other thing that I was thinking the other day is that, I mean, we are seeing the beginning of a Cold War between China and the US now in the financial system. So probably DeFi will be the bridge that will bundle this financial system or internet broken into two, whether it's going to be 5G, whether it's going to be Facebook money versus WeChat money. We know the blockchain technology really works when people or entities don't trust each other. And a couple of years ago was more like cypherpunks don't trusting the system and not trusting the banks. But now it's like the two major powers in the world do not trusting each other. So I think DeFi could also play a role there in the future that maybe none of us was expecting. No? I don't know, guys, what do you think about this? Aria, Marian?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, sorry, I totally agree with that. I think that blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies have separated the state from the money, and that will not divide us, but the other way around. It will unite, and not just China and the US, but everybody with everybody. What traditional finance today can connect, crypto is going to do, definitely. And I think that they're going to use the DeFi infrastructure to connect that. So yeah, totally agree.
Yes, I agree with what Brian was saying. I was listening to, I can't remember the name of the famous Bitcoiner who was talking about the relation, how we can compare actual moment with cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin, as the revolution of the church and the state 400 years ago, when there was a separation of the church and the state. Now there is a big revolution that will be enabled to separate money from the state, and that's called DeFi. First DeFi tool is Bitcoin, and there are many new innovations that are enabling this that people can have its own ownership of its money and have freedom on how to use it. And what we are building is tools for that kind of freedom. And it's a great moment, and I'm very proud that we can together build this, because it is something that is going to change humanity, really. Religion, it was one of the things that have sculptured our cultures and humanity. Well, money is something that if you study history, you know that humans been using money before they learned to read. And what we are doing is a revolution with money. And I think the DeFi is in the center of that, is enabling a technology, which is the new money, which is Bitcoin, to grow and to expand and to be used in many, many different ways. Sorry.
No.
I get a bit emotional when talking about this.
Yeah, in lines of what you said regarding how the world is like dividing, I would say. The other day I tweeted, like, for me, one of the most important fields for the next 25 years would be like adversarial thinking design and game theory, because we will rely on those things, right? If the world is like eventually going to divide in terms of 5G internet, financial systems, let's say, the money that we are going to use to transact for exports and imports and that kind of things, right? So adversarial thinking would be like one of the most important things that we need to develop, right? And I think that as you said, right, when two parties don't trust each other and we need to use trust minimalist technology, we will have to develop things, right? And this field, it's fairly new for us. Let's remember that game theory is not very old development in the fields of mathematics and economics, right? So we should push that those development to start making better tools and better, obviously, financial tools and platforms if this thing is going to happen, right? This dividing.
Yes, absolutely. And I was talking to a friend the other day saying that, we've all seen Black Mirror, right? So there are multiple scenarios that could come out of this current situation, and many of them are not better than the one we are right now. So one of the reasons why I'm so excited about blockchain technology and DeFi solutions is because I think they could lead us to something better, but it's not certain. So we need to really work on it, and we really need to make it right and make sure we invite good actors and build it in the right way.
And sorry to interrupt you, but that is the exact thing. I mean, we need to build this as a redundancy tool of the financial system too, right? Because right now, the financial system doesn't have a redundancy, right? And so, I mean, I worked 10 years in informatics, and every time that I work in a new system, one of the things that you have to develop is, okay, how the system had redundancy, right? It's how resilient is this system. And I think that we are working exactly on that.
Absolutely. I think many Bitcoiners, I would completely agree with you that they feel more secure in what's going on in the world because they see Bitcoin as a fallback of, store of value if the dollar and the euro collapse, no? So
I agree.
It's a very interesting.
I agree completely. I wouldn't think how I will feel if I haven't learned about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies a couple of years ago in actual context. And I really can't believe. We are all doing a huge teaching and spreading the world about the importance of learning about Bitcoin and learning about all this technology, because I think it's something that is good for humanity. And it provides you, especially in countries where you don't have great institutions, there is a way to protect yourself to bad actors.
Absolutely, and I think I love these spirits that we have in this panel. There are not many financial services panels in the world where you talk and people get so emotional and so philosophic. No, I think it's deeply rooted into the code somehow. But probably people listening to this panel would say, okay, but I'm confused about what role Bitcoin could have or Ethereum could have on the future of DeFi and these financial systems. And I know all of us have been working really hard in the last couple of years, just trying to bring the communities together, try to focus on we're trying to change the world and changing the life of millions of users. But there's still probably an interesting analysis on which kind of solutions or use cases that you guys expect to be built in one blockchain or the other, or there's a scenario for one that takes all or multiple different infrastructure layers working in parallel. What do you think, Ali, about that?
Okay, that's a good question. I think at the end, multiple blockchains will coexist. So I think it's a space. Right now, it's a space for multiple, not only Bitcoin or Ethereum, but multiple more. At this moment, I think, besides that it's not perfect, Bitcoin is the most secure, the most decentralized, the biggest one, etc. But if we want to support a completely financial system, we have to support different use cases. And as Brian said, for example, there are some limitations even in Bitcoin and in Ethereum for some particular use cases. So let's say some examples. For example, in Bitcoin, we can say that Bitcoin supports around 8 to 10 transactions per second. We had peaks of 16, 18, but around 10 transactions per second. And the confirmation time, which is the confirmation time, is the time I had to wait from when I send a transaction, and that transaction cannot be reverted, for sure. It's immutable, okay? Before that time, the transaction can be reverted. It's not normal, but someone could do it, okay? We had to wait in the case of Bitcoin. To be sure, we had to wait around for confirmation, so that is around 30, 40 minutes. So in the case of Ethereum or RSK, it's similar. We have in the order of hundreds of transactions per second, and you had to wait a few minutes in order to have the confirmation completed. What is the issue? If I want to send $100,000 to China, I don't have problems to wait 1 hour, because right now in the traditional financial system, it takes 2 days. I don't have any issue. There is another third option that I forgot to mention, which is the cost of the transactions. In the case of Bitcoin, Ethereum, in the blockchains, in the public blockchains, it depends, this cost vary, depends of the overhead of the network. So you can pay cents of dollars, even $1 or whatever. So again, if I had to send $100,000 to China, I don't care to even pay $10, because right now the traditional financial system, it costs me hundreds of dollars, okay? But if I want to support microtransactions, which is also in the DeFi ecosystem, in a traditional financial system, like going to the grocery store and buy a cookie, okay? I don't want to wait 30 minutes for that. And I don't want to pay $1 in order to pay, I don't want to pay more in fees than the cost of the item, right? So for that reason, we need, again, what Brian said, a better infrastructure. For that, all the different blockchain is created, the solution, which is called commit chains or off-chain payment solutions. Like, for example, in Bitcoin, it's Lightning Network. In Ethereum, it's Raiden. In RSK, it's Lumino, which allows to have thousands of transactions per second with very, very low fees, in some cases with 0 fees, and with confirmation times of milliseconds, okay? How we achieve this? We sacrifice the decentralization in some point, okay? So to answer the question, which will win, I don't know. I think will coexist multiple blockchains, okay? Right now, the more secure, the more decentralized, is not perfect, but it's the most secure and most decentralized is Bitcoin. That's why it's so important for the DeFi ecosystem. And I don't know if I can make a cross-panelist questions, but there is,
yes, you can.
From some years, there is.
It's permissionless panel, so you can do whatever you want.
Okay. So Mariano, please prepare. We have in Ethereum a long conversation of Ethereum 1 and Ethereum 2. There are a lot of changes in the consensus algorithm. The consensus algorithm, for the one who don't know, are the rules that all the platforms should follow, how the blocks are created, how are accepted or not. And in the case of Ethereum 2, will change from proof of work to proof of stake. And they also are sharding, etc., etc. I want to know which is the position of MakerDAO about this transition, and which is their opinion about Ethereum 2.0. That's something.
First, I will answer the Gabi's question. And I think I have a kind of a controversial opinion for some Bitcoin maximalists about this, in which I think Bitcoin for me is the highest form of private property ever created. And think of Bitcoin as money is like the boringest thing ever. Money is boring. Cash is trash by design. So trying to peg Bitcoin to some sort of money, for me, is completely useless. Why? Because, I repeat, it's the highest form of private property ever created by the humankind. Okay? So taking that into consideration and going on the other hand, we have Ethereum. And I think Ethereum, as a cryptocurrency and as a network, is the highest form of coordination for people. We are talking about DeFi right now, could be this, and maybe other, I don't know, field that may come up in some years on top of DeFi, we don't know, but I see that. And I know that it's kind of a cliche to say Bitcoin as gold and Ethereum as oil, but for me, it has like it's totally in that way. Oil today allows for human to coordinate, and that cannot be denied by anyone, right? And I think exactly the same way. And we know, and I think that most of the people that is in the space know, that the best way to store value is Bitcoin. So if you want to create new services, if you want to create new files, if you want to create points on which people should coordinate, you should go with a network that probably is not Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency. Probably what you will be doing is all the work that you are coordinating in other networks, other blockchains, should end up going to Bitcoin. I mean, this is not new. We all seen in these boom bust cycles of altcoins that most of the people say, okay, I'm using altcoins to farm Bitcoin, right? And that could be one of the case. The thing is that we live in in an environment where we have people that, you know, that with strong opinions and they want to make their opinion to like a theory, right? And that's not the thing for me. I'm trying to see all things like it's a spectrum, right? And for me, it's that thing. I know that, yes, Bitcoin is the only decentralized 100% pure asset. But on the other hand, I don't see that Ethereum could be such a bad thing because it has a pre-mine, for example, right? So, I mean, I'm kind of in the middle, and I think that probably we will see like different verticals. We will see some blockchains that are specialized to do a kind of work. We will see other ones that maybe, I don't know, let's say logistics, with a mix of private and public, and that's the thing. What I really love is to be surprised every time that I read a new technology is being built. Let's say RSK, let's say Ethereum, let's say Bitcoin, let's say whatever, except Trump, whatever, right? but that's the thing, right? I mean, if we all know that Bitcoin is the highest form of private property. And we all know that right now Ethereum is the most used network in terms of coordination. But we don't have to see that thing as a nemesis thing. Because intelligent people were seeing and said, okay, how can I seize this opportunity? Like, for example, Brian, I know that he's in like every blockchain, participating in all the things and all these financial services, because I mean, for me, that is the way to create new things, right?
Awesome and interesting, Marian. That probably what makes Bitcoin so strong. It's lack of coordination, right? Because Bitcoin governance is
Great.
I mean, it's the impossible coordination, and that makes it unstoppable. So
Bitcoin, it's a proto DAO. It's a proto DAO. It's like the first, movements of a DAO. And we are seeing now DAOs being much more standardized in like a lot of things, but Bitcoin per se, it's a proto DAO, if you think about it, right? And answering to the Alex question in terms of what the foundation thinks about the transition, we are pretty much blockchain agnostic. I mean, we are in fact pushing for bridges. We think in terms of stability and not in things of, in networks, right? Because for the Maker Foundation and pretty much for the MKR token holders, the product is stability. It's not a token. It's not a technology. It's not a layer 1 or layer 2. It's stability. And if you go to the Maker.org forum where all the governance flow is happening, it's all about stability. And that's the thing. So we pretty much welcome all technologies.
Cool. Thank you.
But Mario, in terms of the technological challenges of Ethereum moving from proof of work to proof of stake, how are you guys dealing with this, or what kind of conversations are you having within the community? Is this a concern, or it won't affect the MakerDAO ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, the concern is there, obviously, because as most of the people, I was reading the other day on Twitter that it's the transition from everyone to choose like changing the motor, the engine of a plane, the engine of a plane in the middle of a flight, right? And it probably feels in that way, but yeah, I mean, the thing is that we don't really know how all the transition is going to work, right? Because, okay, we can say something about how it's going to be, but probably in the middle of the implementation, we will see that there are different things to be made. There are fixes and that kind of things, right? And I mean, yeah, it's kind of to foresee what is going to happen, but I think that the good side of it is that there are like a lot of developers and a big community to start working onto that, right?
And could we say that your current strategy as a community is to be present in as many blockchains as possible and have as many engines as possible, so when you have to change the main one, the thing keeps
on probably the other ones should adapt in that way, right? And that is why, and Gabriel, like every bridge needs to go under a heavy audit, right? A heavy audit, and that's the thing. We are building, like as we said, like redundant technology for the financial system.
Okay, thank you very much. Manu, Brian, what do you think about this comparison between different blockchains?
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, Manu, but I want to end with something with you finishing my statement after all, so don't worry about that. So Ethereum or Bitcoin? That's a very interesting question I receive quite often, actually. I actually love both. They'll both have, very good things, very negative things as well, or at least building blocks that have to be resolved. But both communities are actually great. And as Mariano just said recently, I talk with a lot of DeFi applications or decentralized applications that are currently working on the Ethereum blockchain. And as Mariano mentioned, they're blockchain agnostic. I mean, they're currently there because most of the users or transactions or the infrastructure was built there. But if it's tomorrow, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever, or new blocks, new blockchain, it would be pretty much the same. Also, what I've seen lately was that with the rise of stable coins, that has something that are working on different blockchains gives I think it brings into the best of the worlds in crypto, because you can interact as any other crypto without working on the volatility we're used to having, and that's without having to pass through the traditional financial markets and to be able to operate in different other places. And also in terms of future, I mean, referring to what Manuel said, like we're in the early 90s in the internet boom. I think there's going to be several blockchains, and there actually has been several. But I think that the interconnectivity and interoperability between these blockchains is something that's going to be very important. I don't see that in a very short term, but I'm already currently seeing use cases like Bitcoin on Ethereum. MakerDAO accepts Bitcoin on that red. RSK with the bridge to Ethereum and to other blockchains. And, as before, when internet was starting, we don't have currently 20, 30, 40 protocols differently. We have one internet right now, which is, connected between several different type of networks. I think that something similar is going to happen in the long run. And that's, my vision long term.
Thanks, Brian. Manu?
Yes, I think regarding Bitcoin and Ethereum are two. I'm not I'm not a tech guy, so I'm going to talk a lot about something that I will not go deeply. But I understand that there are two different technologies completely built for different use cases. Bitcoin, I understand, being built for being digital gold, to be a reserve of value. And as Mariano said, I think most people think it's the best cryptocurrency as reserve of value. And I understand that Ethereum being built to initially to enable to do different things, especially to implement smart contracts. And I was not at the moment when Ethereum as money, as people say it's money, and it is money because it has value, but I don't think in the long term is the best collateral, the best money to build financial product with it. That's why we build financial products using Bitcoin. So Ethereum was a tool. The money was Bitcoin, and when we built Money on Chain, we found RSK. Luckily, RSK has this tool, which actually we understood that was a better tool, much more secure, much more less cost to operate. We understand it has much advantages, and we have this which is the best collateral. So it's that's regarding Bitcoin and Ethereum. I also understand that Ethereum has a huge advantage. That is the first mover advantage. We can't deny that all the DeFi, most of the DeFi startups and new projects being built on Ethereum because they were there before. But as Brian was saying, this and as it's a reality. There are many blockchains right now, and it's something that many more are going to come. As my partner Max always says, the blockchain. You could be at the end. The user will not care about in which blockchain are. The important maybe is going to be the financial model behind. Of course, there is some security concerns, and in the long term, you will see that some blockchains fail, and so maybe it's going to be one or two, or you will have Polkadot that are going to use several blockchains, and it's going to be interconnected. So I think regarding the smart contract, there is several options regarding the store of value. The best option is Bitcoin. So it's two different things. if I have to say something regarding what Brian said about stablecoins, I think it's the cornerstone of DeFi, because people are not used to trade and to use finance application with the volatility of Bitcoin or the volatility of whatever cryptocurrency you choose. So I think the big innovation now being done initially by MakerDAO, having the first cryptocurrency collateralized stablecoin. Well, actually, I'm quite happy that MakerDAO is using Bitcoin also as collateral. But having Bitcoin as collateral will enable to use a really sound money as collateral and build a new financial system and enable the use of Bitcoin grow exponentially. Up to now, the use cases for Bitcoin being store value, long-term, high volatility, so it's mainly for speculators and maybe for people who, as Dieguito always says, are very lucky that we can store value for a couple of years and we see the profits. Or maybe you can use it, but it's not efficient because of the volatility. So the stablecoin piece for enabling the growth of DeFi is huge. Now that we are starting to see stablecoins using a real the best asset, which is Bitcoin, as collateral, I think will enable Bitcoin and DeFi to grow exponentially. That's
okay.
my point.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We clearly have a maximalist in the room. I love your passion, and I say. So, guys, this is very unfair because I have 10 more questions to ask all of you. This panel has been amazing, but we are running out of time. So probably we will talk to the organizer to see if we can have a second version of it. We have 1 minute for each of you for some final messages. Let's try to focus on the audience that is new to DeFi and to this, and if they want to learn more, any tips on where to go and search for this information? Where do you guys think is the new thing coming? Where to go to the basics? And as we always say, the most efficient way to invest your resources is understanding and learning this technology. So maybe we can give the audience a few tips where to go and learn more. So Ale, if you want to start.
Okay. I will recommend to learn all the things that we are building, go to the developer network of RSK, which is developer.rsk.co. There you can find how to start a node, how to set up a wallet, how to use Lumina, which is the off-chain payment solution, how to use the identity solution. You can start learning all the things that we are building. Go to the channels, to the different, to Twitter. Twitter is very active in all this ecosystem. You can tag us and we can answer. We can have discussions over there. But just before I start to invest or to play with these technologies, please invest a little in learning at this stage. So go to these sources. Thank you for the opportunity to participate.
Thanks, Ale. Manu? I think Manu is frozen, so we go to Ryan. So he had something very important to say, but
he left. So for initial users, obviously to know about wallets, crypto, stablecoin, that's I think the ABC basics for DeFi. For a little bit more crypto users that already have a little bit more experience, I would definitely recommend to start looking out into different lending protocols. We have here MakerDAO and Money on Chain that are doing something similar, where you could, just deposit your interact with your wallet into their smart contract and generate a passive investment no minimum required. Just instead of having those crypto assets in your wallet, just lending. Just a recommendation is to check out who you are going to interact with. Check that the smart contract has been audited in the past by respectable players. And that would be my different recommendation. And in terms of what's next, Mariano mentioned DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. That is something that is very, very interesting. We're taking a very detailed look on it. And when DAOs meet DeFi, a new financial structure is going to be met. So I think that that's quite in the future as well. And thank you very much for having me in this panel.
Thank you very much, Brian. Marian?
I would say that, first of all, you have to ask what is your motivation to learn, right? Because one of the things that people told me when they entered to this space, they say, my God, there's like a lot of things to read, to learn. I don't know, I feel like lost. There's like a million things, right? So probably the best thing is, okay, what motivates you to be here, right? And then you can set different directions. If you want to just learn about the technology and the philosophy of it, I would recommend Medium. Probably is the best place to go because you have like a lot of articles and posts there about different cryptocurrencies. And for, let's say, real-time learning, Twitter for me and Telegram groups are the best tools ever. If I want to check something like just like this, I'm going to a Telegram group and
for
I ask
as well.
Yeah, this Telegram is just like a Twitter side chain at this moment. So
Yeah.
you can check whatever in real time, right? So I think that those are the tools.
Thanks, Marian.
Yeah,
Manu, final words?
Yes, I fall from the call. There was a connection problem. So sorry if I repeat something that Brian or Alejandro said. I just listened to Mariano. I would say to start for people who is outside Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, whatever. In English, I would say the best teacher I had is Andreas Antonopoulos. I would recommend everything from him in YouTube. He's not maximalist. I thought I was not maximalist. I try not to be. I really like, as in, Bitcoin. Andrea is a very well-known not maximalist, so he's completely open-minded. And if I think the first thing, what I learned when I was getting into this world is I review the concept of money. So in that sense, it's better if you want to go into DeFi, you first need to review what is money. For me, the best source for understanding what is money, there are several, obviously, but Nick Sao, when he has a blog, is amazing, all the research and how he writes about the origin of money. Well, obviously, we have a Telegram group, a web page. We are building DeFi for Bitcoin. If you want to know what we are doing for DeFi in Bitcoin, you can learn there. And Tech with Catalina, she has a channel in Spanish, but also in English. She's covering a lot of all the DeFi movement for Bitcoin and in her channel. So it's also, especially for Spanish-speaking communities, but in English she's also building a lot of content. So these are the four recommended channels to learn.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I've learned a lot. I hope the audience as well. Thanks for being with us today, and let's keep on building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's have
Bye.
a
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.